We did something really cool lately on the scalable side of the house. So Digital Marketer's sister company is the Scalable company. Digital Marketer focuses on digital marketing and growth. The Scalable company focuses more on kind of scale, operational efficiency, sort of the two sides of the entrepreneurial coin. And at Scalable, we actually have an event coming up in a few weeks. And so we're doing a lot of testing to promote that particular event, running a bunch of ads and things like that. And somebody gave us the idea of running these problem-centric ads. I was like, what are you talking about? And when he explained it to me, I was like, oh yeah, this is the most obvious thing in the world. We used to do a variation of it, 7-8 years ago. It worked so well, we stopped doing it. It was one of those kinds of things. But the idea is really, really simple, but it's really powerful. What you do is you essentially come up with a list of 30 problem statements that your customer or client would have. Like, how would they say their problem? And this, if you got a sales team, you can specifically just ask your sales team, hey, what are some of the problems that you hear, right? What are the things that people would say in their own words? You can also look at doing searches for oftentimes these will come up in Amazon reviews for related products and things like that. But if you can come up with brainstorm, or you can also use ChatGPT, hey, ask as a researcher and come up with X number of problem statements. They're usually going to sound like I wish, I want, I need. So there's going to be some kind of a problem statement. Brainstorm 30 of them. And then we created ad campaigns with an ad where the only thing on the ad, it was just an ugly ad, like a kind of goofy greenish background that was designed to just stick out and not look nice, right? That classic old school. Remember when every Facebook ad had like a hot pink border around it? That, every Facebook ad had cleavage and or a hot pink border around it, like in the early days of Facebook ads. So this is kind of harkening back to the hot pink. Yeah, it worked like a charm. This is harkening back to the dark pink or the hot pink back border. Ugly color, and the only other thing is just the text of the problem statement in a quote. Right. So one of them for our business, because this again is for entrepreneurs. It's, if my business is growing, then why am I making less money? Right. Would be an example of a problem statement that we hear from entrepreneurs.
No one want to double click on that right now. Like you right? Having said, it's just, there's this visceral reaction in me that goes, I need whatever content's on the other end of this gate.
Well, and that was one of the ones that won. So what we did is we ran an impression campaign. I don't remember how many impressions that we ran, but we weren't really interested in conversions or anything like that. But it was just the image. And then the title and description in the ad was just scale your business. It was intentionally generic because the only thing we wanted to test for, we wanted to isolate for the problem statement, right? Isolate for the problem statement. And we just ran some impression campaigns across it and ran it for, I think, 400 impressions, kind of just took the top 10 in terms of click-through rate and cost per click, kind of looking at those as a ratio. What were the top 10? Ran it again, got it down to the top 5, ran it again, and then used that to inform headline tests on landing pages, but everything else. And it was just one of the coolest, simplest things in the world. I think marketers overcomplicate this. We need to be speaking into the problems that we solve for. We need to stop talking about our freaking product, stop talking about even the category that we're in, how we're the best in this particular space. Speak to the specific problem. I mean, the sweet spot is problem-aware people anyway. So just speak out to the problem, read their minds, engage in the conversation they're having in their own brains. They're likely to click. And what do you know? It worked. And so we got some really cool, not just new ad sets out of that, because then we decided, okay, let's take this ad copy and create a bunch of different ad variations based on this that looked prettier, that was more quote unquote on brand. But let's keep the ugly ones in too and see which wins. But informing the ads, informing the landing pages, informing email copy, it's just a phenomenal way to get real data that I'm not seeing a lot of people do. And it was cheap. It was hundreds, maybe a couple $1,000s to run that test over a period of about 10 to 14 days.
Makes so much sense. And the type of ad was the question or the statement, was it in the image or was it in the copy itself?
In the image.
In the image itself.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
In the image itself, there was almost nothing in the copy. Again, the headline of the ad was scale your business. And the other one was, attend this event on how to scale your business. I mean, it was intentionally generic. We wanted to isolate just the problem statement itself in the ad. Boom, there you go.
Dude, that's a nugget within a nugget too, which is split testing the ad as a standalone element without worrying about the entire rest of the funnel.
Right.
We used to do that way back in the day, but I swear it's been 5 years.
Yeah, we used to do it all the time.
We ever took that approach.
Yep, all the time. We do it. We got too smart for that. Now we test different ad sets, and we don't isolate anything anymore. We're just too smart for that, I guess. So, yeah.
It worked so well, we stopped doing it.
Worked so well, we stopped doing it.
It worked so well, we stopped doing it. I think that's a common problem with a lot of marketers, actually. And everybody, no matter what level you're at, like, oh, I used to do that thing, and now I don't do that anymore. Like, one of the things that now it's like a new strategy is awareness, which is create like a blog post or a healthy, like a nice educational piece of content, which is a gateway into ultimately the solution that you're trying to sell on the back end. Just run that and then use all that data to figure out what your potential messaging could be for your conversion ads, or at the very least, just at the very top of the funnel, and then just retarget them with an actual call to action, a conversion ad. It's like, this is like a new strategy. I remember talking about this 7 years ago.
Yeah. That was the strategy when retargeting first came to Facebook. It was buy ads to content to build your pixeled audience to then make the ask. And I remember back in the day, the net cost per lead was lower if we basically had them click on what was the equivalent of 2 ads. 2 ads. Because the initial ad cost was so inexpensive that because it was good content and it got shared and all that stuff, that when it was an ad going to good content, it actually got shared. Then it could be, what if we just put the content in the ad itself? Oh, we can actually put videos in these things now.
Right.
Then we all just got impatient and greedy.
Yeah.
And so I think so much of this is discovering what were the things that used to work before we all got impatient and greedy.
Yeah. Well, we got impatient, greedy, and spoiled. Like, it started to work so well that just money came. Like, why would I get in the way of money? And so we started running these ads that were converting like crazy. And then when that stopped working for all the various reasons that we, talk about, then now it's back to basics.
And I think so many direct response or performance marketers just wanted to go for that first touch sale or first touch opt-in, first touch, level of consideration, name, email address, without putting anything in front of it. And there was a time, let's not forget, between, let's say 2014 and 2020, where ad costs, like, they were still relatively cheap and you could do that. But ad costs and CPMs, although I just saw a stat from Meta, from our partner manager, that actually shows that the CPMs for Meta is actually decreased in the last year.
I don't trust any of those numbers.
Let's double check that one.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem to make sense. But anything, whenever
you got a transmission from the Death Star and they told us.
Yeah.
Somebody intercepted.
You're fine. You're fine. And go have a picnic. It's going to be a bright, sunny day.
Everything's great. Everything's great here. Just keep running those.
Usage is up. New users are up. New babies are being born. They're all on Facebook automatically.
Look at our stock price since the beginning of the year. You didn't realize, well, it actually cratered at the end of last year. But, everything can have its own individual spin. But the point is like that ocean for website conversions, I don't care what niche you're in, is an expensive, bloody red ocean right now. So you have to start thinking about different ways in which to approach the market. I think this is a brilliant way of doing it. And image with interview your sales team, interview your customer service team, find out what the real problems are, and just test this strategy. Super smart. I'm curious, and this is a long nugget, by the way, but it's a really good one, that when they did actually click, where did they go? Did they go to a call to action page, or was it more content? Because you weren't necessarily looking at that as your success metrics. You were looking at CPC, you were looking at CTR. But where did they go? I'm just curious on that. What that next click would be.
In this case, they went over to the event, an abbreviated event sales page to buy a ticket, and what was cool, we did actually sell some tickets. Right. I didn't necessarily think we would, and we did two-step it, where the first step was to ask for name and email address, because I didn't think that we'd have a lot of conversions, and I wanted our sales team to follow up with them to actually sell the tickets. So I think we sold during this whole test. I think we sold a handful of tickets, but those handful of tickets pretty much offset
paid for the cost of traffic.
Yeah, pretty much paid for the test. Yeah. It's not enough that I would have just kept running that as is, but the data was hugely valuable.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if you can test for free, that's a really big deal.
Yeah.
And I just puts you in kind of a friendlier position.
This can also be done in a couple $100 budget too. Like you guys went a couple $1,000s, which in the grand scheme of things is obviously small. But I mean, this can be done, and we tell this to customers of ours, like you can test this strategy for like 1% of your total ad budget just to see if we get any play out of it. I think it can be done at a very small scale. And you're going to see too, like those impressions that you get are going to be at a fraction of the CPM of the website conversion ones that you would run where you're actually asking for a name or an email or a registration or a small purchase, that kind of thing. So
yeah, you're right. And it's a good point. What I would have preferred to do is just what you said, which is test for less over a longer period of time. Because the event is coming up quickly, we needed speed. And so we were willing to pay more for speed. But yeah, I mean, you can lower your per day because it's hard, right? You run a test like that and you're kind of pulling all your data over 2 days. I mean, it's probably right. But the reality is some stuff could happen in those 2 days. Like who you get shown to could be different than the normal. So I'd rather spend less, have it spread out over a longer period of time. But yeah, again, in this case, the event is, the time was, I think, 6 weeks away, less time now. So we needed to get the data quickly.
In the world of paid ads, there's one tool that rises above all others in terms of amplification. Here's what that means. There's one tool on your tool belt that will amplify everything else that you're doing, paid and organic, sometimes by double. And that tool is remarketing. Remarketing.